All right. Hello, hello, here on this Thursday evening. We're going to get going in just a second. I'm going to get everyone a chance to log on here. Make sure we can see questions, comments, concerns, talk about all things winter weather here as we head into the next couple days. If you have any questions, again, make sure to post them in there. I'm going to be cycling back and forth. I'm going to go through some graphics here first, kind of talk about what we're expecting, the latest models, the latest thinking for ice and things like that. And then I'll kind of look at comments, questions. If you have anything that you want to get answered, make sure to post that and we'll go through it. So let's talk about here this first graphic, because this is a relatively new product from what we call the Weather Prediction Center. And what they have done, they've taken into account any and all impacts from future systems. And what they do is they take the ice, the snow, any of those impacts, and put it into kind of a grade, if you will. And you can see where we have the red outlined on that graphic. That is major outlook from them. Moderate in the orange, including the city of Atlanta, and then it trails off the farther south and west you go. For sure, our northeastern counties looking at the brunt as far as the ice totals and things like that. The entire area, though, likely to see some form of ice and some concern of that here into the next couple days. So with that said, I want to talk here about the latest from the National Weather Service. They also put out their winter storm watch graphic. They expanded that earlier this afternoon. And so anywhere in that blue, which includes all of us here in North Georgia, what that's saying is winter storm conditions are likely as we head into the weekend. So that goes Saturday through Monday. I would expect those winter storm watch, areas to be upgraded at some point to a winter storm warning, kind of just further emphasizing what we're expecting. What they have mentioned is about 0.4 of an inch of ice up to an inch. There could be some isolated totals. Think a place like Helen, Gainesville, Ellijay, where you're closer to that really strong pocket of cold air where those totals could be slightly over an inch, which would for sure cause some issues. I think here in Atlanta, Rome, Carrollton, we're going to be closer to the 0.4 of an inch or so, the lower end of what they're giving, but that would still cause some issues. So that's what we're looking at. The purple you see back into Alabama, that is a winter weather advisory for those portions. Again, I think we're probably going to see some winter storm warnings come out once we get closer to this event. So as far as the latest track here is concerned, we have been getting pretty good consistency, I would say, over the past couple of model cycles. Yesterday, the hurricane hunters were up in the system that is going to become this system. It's kind of starting to form right now. They were taking measurements of temperature, pressure, wind speed, all the above. That then went into this model that I'm going to show you. And so we've seen some slight refinements. We have not seen any major shifts, which is good. As a meteorologist, we can look at that and say, we're getting some pretty good confidence here as we get closer to this is what we're expecting. So as we head into Saturday afternoon, let's say 2 o'clock, most locations will still be quiet at that point. We get into the evening, there is 6 o'clock. You notice how we start to see that pink showing up in those northeastern counties, but watch what happens as we go into Saturday night. It starts to kind of filter in even more and will likely be with us most of Saturday night into early Sunday morning. All of that would be freezing rain. You have to have temperatures at 32 or below at the surface to get that freezing rain. And anywhere outlined there by the model, I think it's doing a very good job of showing that is the likely area for freezing rain. Macon, this is not going to be an ice storm for us, but I think our far northern areas closer to Atlanta itself could see some freezing rain issues. Rain, though, by the time we get into Sunday afternoon. And so I know seeing that map, that looks good, right? And it will indeed melt the ice that we have. But getting into Sunday night and early Monday morning, we are expecting a refreeze. So there could be a brief period where it looks a little bit better, and then we get into Monday morning where things refreeze, we run into some more issues. By the time we get to Monday afternoon, Tuesday, Wednesday, we should be starting to look a whole lot better with highs above freezing, thankfully. Let me check comments here, questions, if we have anything. Again, if you do have any, make sure to post them here. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and I will do my best to get to those. Not seen any quite yet. Thank you all for logging on here on this Thursday evening. So this model that I just showed you is what we call the European model. We also have what we call the GFS model, the American model. We go into Saturday afternoon. Look how similar it is into 3 o'clock. maybe a little bit earlier on the timing, but we get into Saturday evening, it's still painting that same picture as far as likely ice into early Sunday morning, then a band of some rain coming through. Look at the Carolinas, too. They're expecting a significant ice storm out of this, as are we for some parts of our viewing area. By Monday morning, it has pushed out, but again, that refreeze concern is going to be there. We mentioned it yesterday if you're watching our stream, too. This is not going to be a snowstorm for us. I want to give you a slight peek there at the snow totals in some parts of the country. Granted, this could still shift. I think that total you see in Ohio is a little bit low. Some very, very high snow totals getting up over a foot for places like Kentucky, up into Philadelphia, closer to D.C. That is where the brunt of the snow totals will be here as we go through the weekend. Let's talk about the ice. So this is the chance of a 1/4 inch of ice. What you're going to see out of this is most locations have a very decent shot at seeing at least a 1/4 inch. If you're in a place like Thomaston, LaGrange, the farther south you go, the much less impact you will see from this storm system. The farther northeast you go, where that cold pocket's kind of locked in, that is the location, kind of the spot where we're expecting the brunt of the impacts. That's a 1/4 inch of ice. Now there's the chance of 1 inch of ice, pretty low at this point in Atlanta, but there is a very real possibility showing up in those northeastern counties. Gainesville, I'm looking at you, for an inch of ice. That would be a significant total if we are to get that from this storm system. And so that's why we're treating it here as very, very important to be prepared. We're not expecting any wintry weather tonight and tomorrow. Good couple of reminders here to just charge everything up, make sure the pets are good to go, get dog food, all the above as we head into the weekend, so you can kind of just rest as this comes through and we continue to track it for you at home. Okay, starting to get a couple comments, questions here. Our schools, business is going to be closed this weekend. I would say the early part of Saturday, maybe not, but then I would venture a guess that for sure by Saturday afternoon into Sunday, yes. A lot of them going to be probably closing early or just shutting down entirely with this ice. How many days do we expect school to be closed? I still think Monday morning, like I said, there's going to be an icing concern, so I could definitely see it into Monday. I think by Tuesday, with highs getting above freezing by that point, Tuesday will be looking a whole lot better, Wednesday even greater, but especially Monday, I think we could see some kind of lingering school closings and delays, things like that. Let's see, models are all over the place. I'm near Ponce City Market. What do you think we will get? Let me go back here to our model and show you, because the good thing with this system, they actually are starting to come to a better consensus. Yes, there are still some slight adjustments that are going to be made, but I can say with very good confidence that we are going to get freezing rain Saturday night. There's 6 o'clock, it starts to push in. We see that freezing rain line stretching from just west of Atlanta all the way up to the northeast. You can see Macon is not included in that. Birmingham still looking at a chilly rain at that point, but it's this cold air kind of wedged up against the mountains that we are looking at, a very specific geographic feature to us here, and that is going to be kind of, unfortunately, our detriment as far as increasing our ice totals initially, and then again that rain, just straight up rain, comes through Sunday afternoon. Is Canton, Georgia going to lose power? So that's a good question. As opposed to yesterday where our wind speeds were looking a little bit lower, we're expecting probably about 20 to 30 mile an hour gusts, which certainly with some ice on the power lines and ice in general, I would expect some power outages for sure across the area. I don't think we're going to be widespread, everyone's seeing that, but I think there's a better chance than not that you would lose power, at least for a little bit of time. All right, so that is YouTube. Let me check Facebook. No comments quite yet. So let me walk through our winter storm watch. I want to get back to this because it's a very good representation of what we're going to expect there. Earlier this afternoon, the National Weather Service expanded this. It did not originally include Atlanta when they issued it yesterday for the very first time. And they mentioned that that potential was there for it to continue farther to the south. And sure enough, that's exactly what they did. You see all of the blue color contour. The low end at this point as far as ice is concerned, probably about 3 to 4 tenths. That's that low end that we have there. The inch total that you see would be closer to our northeastern counties. I do not expect us to see an inch of ice in Atlanta, but that would be for Helen, Gainesville, Ellijay, even Athens could be closer to about 3/4 of an inch. Regardless, that difference, any one of those totals, if we get 4 tenths or if we get an inch, that would have some significant impacts versus, if we were to get nothing. So just bear that in mind. All right, so let me go back here to another great graphic. This is the one from the Weather Prediction Center. They put out a winter storm severity index, kind of a fancy term for saying what areas do they think and do we think are going to get the most impacts from this system. Anywhere in the red, major impacts are expected. That's exactly where we've been talking about for the highest totals with the freezing rain. It's still moderate to major in Atlanta. Carrollton, Griffin, your impacts are a lot less. I would say minor, but you still could see a very quick glaze of some icing. Won't take much to have those roads be slippery. Check comments here. All right, again, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to post them on our YouTube channel or Facebook. I'm going to do my best to kind of get through these, and thank you all for joining us on this Thursday evening. First Alert Meteorologist Anthony Baglione with you. We've been watching this system very closely. We're going to be here all weekend long through Monday, watching how this storm system evolves, kind of tracking the latest impacts for you. The entire team going to be monitoring this, so don't worry, we've got you covered on that. We go to the latest thinking as far as the timing is concerned. Again, I think this model is doing a very good job. If you have family and friends up into Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, even that swath that you saw for a second there, they are looking at some huge snowfall totals. In Cincinnati, Ohio, for instance, 5 to 10 inches, potentially upwards of a foot. If they get some icing, if this continues to shift a little farther to the north, which I don't expect at this point, that would cut down on some of those totals up there. We start into about 5 to 6 o'clock Saturday evening. I think most of the afternoon, at least the early afternoon, is going to be quiet. By the time we get late afternoon into the evening, I would plan on being home, tucked in, not going out, not on the roads. There's 1 o'clock Sunday morning. Freezing rain is likely at that point. You see the pink showing up. Yes, it is rain west of us into Birmingham. We are solidly locked into freezing rain, though, for a large chunk of North Georgia because, and that graphic is a good illustration of that, look how that pink comes down from out of the Carolinas, pushes up against the mountains, and it gets kind of what we call wedged right there, and it can't really go anywhere. It's very cold, very dense air, and so it would take a really strong push of warm air to kick that out of there, and cold air kind of just doesn't want to do that. It wants to stay put. So I don't expect that to get shoved out of the way, probably until Sunday afternoon when we get some rain coming through. Keep in mind with that rain that comes in, it will melt things Sunday afternoon, but the caveat with that is any of that moisture is going to refreeze Sunday night. So we're still going to see some icing concerns kind of as a lingering impact into early Monday morning. There will not be a drop falling from the sky on Monday as far as more precipitation, but it's going to be those lingering impacts that we're still tracking at that point. Great question. So what model do you test the most, GFS or Euro? My overall thinking usually is the European model. It is very accurate usually. In this case, though, where we have that cold air wedged up along the mountains, the European sometimes struggles with that. So we've been kind of taking a combination of many different models, not necessarily looking at just one. When we have all of that data available, it's good to look at all of it and say, what do we think is going to happen? Where can we refine the forecast? And that's exactly what we've done with this versus just looking at the European or just looking at the GFS. Our forecast is kind of a combo of that, and I think that's where we're leaning at this point. Let's see. Canton, Georgia, going to lose power. Talked about that. All right. Let's keep going here. I'm going to run through the other look at the model. So I just showed you the European. That's this one right there. 6 o'clock Saturday evening. We have the freezing rain starting to push in. It is firmly in place from us all the way up into the Carolinas. This is going to be a significant ice storm all the way up through North Carolina, South Carolina, potentially up into Virginia. They could be looking at some ice. There is 5 o'clock Sunday evening. So again, this is the European model. I'm going to show you the other one, the very prominent one that we look at as well. 7 o'clock Saturday morning, it still has us totally dry. Again, I think the first half of Saturday is fine. We're going to go to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a little bit earlier on that time frame. So again, I would say by about 4 or 5 o'clock, you should plan to be home. Not out on the roads, just keeping that in mind. 10 o'clock into the evening, you see that freezing rain showing up there on the American model. That sticks with us Saturday night. Early Sunday morning, we may see it lingering. It tries to keep our temperatures a little bit colder there on this model. And then again, very similar story as far as rain by the afternoon. That will refreeze everything Sunday night. So we're going to be looking at multiple days here of potential impacts. Could Snellville see 1 inch of ice? Great question. Let me go to the ice graphics here because the inch totals at this point are going to be few and far between, but I do expect some of our locations to see that. And so here's the 1/4 inch of ice. I'll show you the inch in just a second. Very likely that we will see at least 1/4 of an inch for a large majority of North Georgia. If you're in LaGrange, for instance, it looks very, very low. You get a little farther to the north and it increases substantially. Atlanta, 76%. It's pretty much a given at this point that we're going to see at least 1/4 inch. Now, the inch total, that's going to be harder to come by. I think some of our northeastern counties, Gainesville there, Athens, have a chance. And so that's something we're going to be watching. If that shifts at all, that would bring our inch totals closer to the city itself and would have some significant impacts. What could happen in the next few hours for snow to fall in Atlanta? So the way things are looking right now, the reason we are not going to get snow from this system, I can tell you that with certainty right now, is because the air above our heads is going to be warm enough to melt anything that comes down. 9 times out of 10, usually what happens when we get rain, it starts as snow, it starts as wintry weather, and then it melts as it gets down to us at the surface. So any rain that we feel started off as snow or ice pellets in the upper atmosphere. The way this system is set up, though, is everything is going to melt in the form of rain. We'll see that closer to the surface, but then right at the surface, there's a layer where it's going to be at freezing or below. So any of that liquid is going to fall onto that and freeze. We would have to have virtually the entire atmosphere shake up for us to get any snow and have it be much, much, much colder above our heads. And if anything, the thinking at this point, if something were to shift, I think it would go more toward a chilly rain versus a snow threat. I do not expect us to see any snow with this. Northeast Georgia, northern part of Murrayville, when can we expect the worst time here? Let's go back to our model, kind of walk through that again. I think by the time we get into Saturday evening, and especially Saturday night, that's when the worst of it's going to be here. You do see some snow up into Tennessee. That's going to get kind of nudged up to the north once this freezing rain comes through. 6 o'clock Saturday evening, we're starting to see that freezing rain potential pushing in. There's some rain closer to Macon, and by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock Saturday evening, it's going to go downhill very fast. We get into Sunday morning, there's 7 o'clock. You can see the freezing rain still staying pretty strong. We get into Sunday afternoon again. There's the rain that comes through. That will melt everything. So if you have to get out this weekend, Sunday afternoon is going to be the better time to do it. I still wouldn't go out. It's going to be messy with all of the rain coming through. But by the time we get into Sunday evening, temperatures drop again. We see a refreeze potential overnight. So I just would not go out the entire weekend if you can avoid it. Let's see. Northeast Georgia, when will the ice melt? So again, I think Monday morning we'll still have that refreeze concern. It will melt by the time we get into the afternoon. Tuesday's firmly above freezing, Wednesday's above freezing. So as far as our temperatures allowing things to melt, by at least Monday afternoon, we're going to start to see that. The sun will really help us out. Even if our temperature stays at 33 degrees, the sunshine that we have here, kind of the angle of the sun that we have in Georgia, will really help to get things melted pretty quickly, which is great. All right, let me check Facebook, see if we have any questions on there. Not seeing any popping up quite yet. Appreciate you all being here, though, on a Thursday evening. I know lots going on. We're timing this system out. Looks like another winter storm is expected to affect Georgia next weekend. I have already seen lots of chatter about that, and what I will tell you at this point, A, it will change. Things will shift. We've seen it with this system. It is way too early to say exactly what will happen with that, so we'll keep watching it for sure. There are some hints that something could be trying to form, whether it's just rain, whether it's thunderstorms, whether it's snow. Way too early to say, but that's kind of next step back here for us to watch. All right, I'm going to answer 1 or 2 more questions, and then we're going to log off here. We'll have tons of coverage, though, guys, here as we go through the next couple days. Lots on streaming, lots on YouTube, all of the above. Potential snow on Friday. Yep, I have certainly seen the modeling on that. Like I said, it's way too early to say for sure right now. Our focus is definitely on this system. So thank you all for tuning in here on this Thursday evening. We have full team coverage as we go through the next couple of days. We are, though, this evening going to take you to Governor Kemp. He had some remarks on the winter weather that we saw earlier, or that we're going to see this weekend. We'll take it his remarks. Otherwise, I hope you have a great evening.
virtually today. As you all know, I'm over in Belgium on an economic development trip. I've been in constant communications with our agency leadership and also Director Lamb, who's on the virtual call with us here today. As you all know, we have a very experienced team when it comes to winter weather and other storm events that affected our state. I just want to thank them for what they do every day, but especially during those tough times when we've experienced some really nasty weather here in our state. And last week we were thinking we might get a little of that. Thankfully we didn't, but we had the team ramped up and ready to go, and it was a good trial run to get ready for what's coming at us. Also, just want to thank Will Langston, state meteorologist, and the National Weather Service folks. We've obviously been in constant communication with them, and we will as the storm continues to move toward us. You'll hear from Director Lamb at GEMA in just a few minutes. I just want to thank our local emergency management folks around the state that we've been coordinating with. Obviously, the Georgia Department of Transportation, Commissioner McMurray and his team are on point and ready to roll. Colonel Hitchens and the Georgia State Patrol will be out as needed prior to the storm getting here, but also responding after it hits. I want to thank our Agriculture Commissioner, Tyler Harper, and our Forestry Commission Director, Johnny Zabo. Their teams are ready in case we need chainsaw cut teams anywhere around the state to help clear roads for power companies and so on. I had a call with Georgia Power earlier today with their weather folks, but also getting an update as they're already moving assets to be prepared for whatever may hit, along with our other utility partners, our EMCs and others. So just want to thank them and all the other stakeholders that are in preparation with us. Obviously, from the weather reports, you know that we're still expecting a major winter storm to impact much of Georgia. We feel like this is going to be an event that's going to happen north of I-20, but that line could move north or south depending on what the temperatures do and what that would throw at us. So we just want all of Georgia to be winter aware, and certainly people in central Georgia, you could be impacted. If the temperatures stay above freezing, you may not, but we just don't know yet, and we'll keep you posted on that. But it's good to be winter weather aware, as we talked about yesterday. The winter storm watch is in effect for North Georgia from Friday evening through Monday morning. We think we'll experience significant snow, sleet, and/or freezing rain possible in these counties throughout the weekend, and that'll start early Saturday morning. As I just mentioned, literally a degree or two in temperature can affect whether we have rain or snow / ice or freezing rain. So that is something that we're just going to have to continue to watch and communicate with, which is why we're asking everyone to be prepared in case we have significant ice accumulation. Obviously, that's treacherous on the roads, but also creates a lot of problems with our utilities and especially our electric power lines and other things. Temperatures will remain below or near freezing early into next week, so we're watching that as well. State actions that I've taken to this point, just declared a state of emergency for all Georgia counties effective immediately. That executive order will be posted here shortly. The duration of that will be 7 days. Obviously, if we need it longer than that, we'll extend that. I've also authorized a call up of 500 National Guardsmen. Now, obviously, we do not have a need for those folks right now. Hopefully, we won't. But we just want to be prepared in case we do, that we can move and get General Wilson and his team responding as quick as possible. So that'll be part of the executive order. We've also suspended truck weights, which will allow us to move fuel and other things around the state as it's needed, as we're urging people to, there's plenty of time before this hits, but just, go ahead and fill your cars up. Make sure you got the things that you need at your house to stay warm and hunker down in case you lose power for a day or two. And this will just help us, the truck weights, to allow moving assets around. Also, many of our partners, including Georgia Power and others, Department of Transportation, they're already moving assets to be deployed in the areas that we think may be affected, so we can move very quickly when the storm gets here. We are activating the State Operations Center starting at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning and running 24/7 until the weather event has passed. GEMA has been in constant contact with the local emergency management folks, as I mentioned earlier. They're also coordinating with state and federal agencies, and that includes working with the Department of Public Health to ensure that nursing homes know who to call if they lose power. The Georgia Department of Transportation will begin treating roads early Saturday morning, so around midnight or early midnight Friday, early Saturday morning, north of I-20. So just be on the lookout if you happen to be on the roads for those trucks that will be out brining. Just give them plenty of room, be courteous to them, and let them do their work. As I mentioned earlier, Department of Agriculture, Department of Natural Resources, the Forestry Commission chainsaw crews are all ready. We'll respond if needed. State troopers are prepared to respond and assist motorists. But the biggest thing people can do, it looks like this storm is going to come in, a little later on Saturday than we originally thought. So folks need to start getting off the roads on Saturday night. If it's bad where you are on Sunday, just do us a favor, do the State Patrol, DOT, all the other folks, utility crews, if they're out working, if you can just stay off the roads, that would be a big favor to us and help keep everybody safe. We're still early in this weather event's impact on our state, but I can let you know that we'll be monitoring this 24/7. We'll certainly keep the public updated. I've asked, my team at the Capitol and then obviously Director Lamb at the State Operations Center to keep everyone updated, as I will be doing as well. We're thinking the line that's most going to be affected right now, the way the modeling looks, is going to be 400 north of the city of Atlanta, the 85 corridor north going toward Gainesville, the Athens area, really all the way to the South Carolina line. A lot of that, though, is going to depend on what the temperatures do. If the temperatures are a little colder than we think, that line is obviously going to move down toward middle Georgia and Macon and in that part of the state. If for some reason that doesn't happen, that line could move a little further north, but that's the best that we can tell you right now. We'll certainly keep you posted on that. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Director Lamb. He'll give his report. We'll sign off, and then we'll keep you posted as we get more information. But thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you, Governor. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So what I'd like to talk about this morning is preparedness and what people can do to be proactive before the storm gets here. Here at GEMA Homeland Security, we encourage everyone to start preparing for potential winter weather impacts now. By being ready for the storm, Georgians can do their part in minimizing risk, reducing the time it takes to recover, and most importantly, prevent the loss of life. The main actions to take now are to prepare your family, prepare your home, and prepare your car. First, prepare your family. Sit down with your family and make a communications plan. Know how you'll contact one another and reconnect if separated. Take time to check on families, neighbors, friends, anyone who may need extra assistance during the storm. Make sure you have enough non-perishable food, water, and medications for at least 3 days. Ensure you have warm clothing and blankets and flashlights and batteries, and update your first aid kit and a way to keep your phone charged. Next, prepare your home. Take precautions like installing and testing smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors, covering outdoor pipes, sealing doors, windows, and cleaning out your gutters. Think of ways to safely heat your house, especially if the power goes out. Remember to never use an oven to heat your home, and don't bring a portable generator inside due to the threat of carbon monoxide. Lastly, prepare your car. Before the storm hits, make sure your gas tank is full and prepare an emergency car kit, including a first aid kit, cell phone charger, jumper cables, blankets, water, snacks, and an ice scraper. Once the storm hits, stay off the roads as much as possible. If travel is necessary, slow down and allow extra time, and be especially careful on bridges and overpasses which freeze first. Not only does staying off the roads ensure residents' safety, but it also gives Georgia DOT crews the time they need to maintain the condition of the roads. In conclusion, GEMA Homeland Security will continue to monitor the winter weather forecast and collaborate with local, state, and state officials to assess conditions and determine the best steps to keep Georgians safe. It's crucial that everyone pay attention to guidance from their local officials and continue to monitor your local National Weather Service and trusted news sources for the most updated information. GEMA Homeland Security will provide additional information and updates regarding the winter weather via our website. That's at gema.georgia.gov and social media at Georgia EMAHS, all one word. So just in conclusion, remember, be prepared, have a ready kit, have a communications plans, take precautions, don't panic, and please stay informed and stay off the roads. Thank you, Governor.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll keep you posted. Have a great day. God bless.